Caitlin Clark's appearance on the golf course wasn't just a celebrity cameo. It was a seismic shift in how women's sports are marketed. When the LPGA announced her participation and paired her with Nelly Korda, fans expected novelty, not dominance. But Clark's performance was extraordinary, shattering event records and reshaping expectations overnight. What began as a one-off exhibition transformed into a global moment, with social media flooded by clips of her swing and score.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
The LPGA, sensing opportunity, mobilized instantly, turning her debut into a viral campaign that drew audiences far beyond golf's traditional fan base. Meanwhile, the WNBA, the very league that made Clark a household name, stayed conspicuously silent, failing to amplify a moment that could have reinforced their own narrative of growth and innovation. This contrast between leagues revealed more than a marketing misstep. It exposed a widening gap in vision. The LPGA's swift, media-savvy embrace of Clark demonstrated the power of adaptability and cultural awareness in modern sports promotion. The WNBA's hesitation, on the other hand, showed the cost of clinging to old frameworks in an era that rewards agility and star-driven storytelling. Clark's crossover success is more than a headline. It's a case study in how bold, forward-thinking strategies can redefine not just a player's brand, but an entire sport's place in the public consciousness. Caitlin Clark just broke another record. But this time, it wasn't on the hardwood. It was on the golf course. Yes, that Caitlin Clark, college basketball's golden girl, the WNBA's buzziest rookie, and the athlete everyone's watching, just stepped into a completely different sport and set the golf world on fire. The debut? Unexpected. The performance? Shockingly impressive. And the reaction? Total chaos in the best way. Clark's appearance at an LPGA event wasn't just a fun crossover moment. It turned into a viral phenomenon that blew past expectations and shook up the sports marketing world in real time. The LPGA saw what they had. They didn't hesitate. They went all in, and it paid off immediately. The buzz started building the second Clark's name was tied to the event. The LPGA didn't wait for approval. They moved fast. Strategic social media rollouts, tailor-made graphics, instant highlight reels. They paired her with Nelly Korda, a massive name in women's golf, and used that pairing to pull in audiences that don't usually tune in to watch golf, let alone women's golf. And just like that, they had a hit. By the time Clark stepped onto green, the coverage had exploded. Viral clips were everywhere. Twitter was on fire. Instagram couldn't get enough. And broadcasters who hadn't even planned to cover the event were suddenly scrambling to catch up. Fans were demanding coverage. Digital views spiked. Traditional sports outlets had to pivot just to keep up with the surge of interest. And it all centered around one person. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't some lucky moment. This was calculated, sharp marketing from a league that understands how to ride the wave of cultural momentum. The LPGA saw a star and built the entire event around her, not at the expense of the sport, but to elevate it. They leaned into Clark's moment and, in return, turned a modest golf event into an international story. Meanwhile, the WNBA, Clark's actual league, was quiet. No post, no promo, no retweet, no acknowledgement, nothing. The same athlete who's setting rookie records, driving ratings, and selling out arenas didn't get so much as a mention from her home league, while she dominated headlines somewhere else. Fans noticed. Analysts noticed. Sponsors noticed. And now, the comparison between the two leagues couldn't be clearer. The LPGA is playing the modern marketing game. The WNBA is still trying to find the court. This contrast didn't go unnoticed by fans online, many of whom were quick to call out the WNBA's silence. And they weren't wrong. Here was a perfect moment. A cross-sport star appearance with viral potential already built in, and the league let it pass without even trying to capitalize. It was a missed opportunity, and not just a small one. It was a real-time example of how far behind the WNBA still is when it comes to promoting its own players. Because here's the thing. Caitlin Clark didn't need to play perfect golf to make this moment matter. Her presence alone brought eyes. Her performance was a bonus. And yet the only league that leveraged that star power was the LPGA. And it worked. What should have been a side event turned into a global conversation. Clark's golf outing did more for LPGA visibility in one day than some of their full tournaments managed in a season. All because they acted quickly, embraced the moment, and centered their strategy around the cultural pull of a major star. That's how you do modern sports marketing. And the fans? They responded. With views, with shares, with engagement levels that forced platforms and broadcasters to pay attention. Social media didn't just carry the conversation. It became the conversation. And all of it stemmed from Clark's participation and the LPGA's readiness to capitalize. Compare that to the WNBA, which had the most to gain and did the absolute least. This wasn't just a fumble. It was a refusal to engage. A clear sign that, despite all the buzz around Clark's impact, the league still isn't willing or able to recognize how to use that momentum to grow. And that has consequences, because fans are watching, sponsors are watching, future stars are watching. And if a league refuses to promote its biggest names during the biggest moments, those names might start looking elsewhere for opportunities. Opportunities like the LPGA just created. This is about more than golf. It's about the power of star athletes to elevate an entire sport, and the responsibility of the league to support them when the spotlight's on. Clark brought energy, attention, and a new audience. The LPGA responded with a blueprint for how to handle it. And the WNBA? They stayed silent, once again missing the kind of moment that builds cultural relevance. And let's be honest, this isn't new. Clark has been drawing massive crowds and shattering rookie records since she entered the WNBA. But the league's marketing efforts around her have remained strangely muted. There's been no sustained campaign, no big partnerships built around her image, no effort to use her story to draw new fans into the league. They're not just failing to capitalize. They're actively resisting momentum, and fans are over it. The conversation now isn't just about Clark's golf swing. It's about league leadership, about whether the WNBA is willing to evolve, or if they'll continue to operate with the same outdated mentality that's kept them stuck for years. Meanwhile, the LPGA showed what's possible. One weekend, one star, one opportunity taken seriously. That's all it took. Now, they're the ones setting the standard. The difference? Willingness to adapt. Willingness to let individual stars shine. The LPGA didn't see Clark as a threat to tradition. They saw her as a bridge to new fans. And by embracing her, they turned a single moment into a cultural flashpoint. That's the future of women's sports. And the leagues that recognize it are the ones that will thrive. This entire event became a case study in what works and what doesn't. On one side, you have an agile, media-savvy organization ready to build around its talent. On the other, a league dragging its feet, clinging to the past, and missing out on the very audience it claims to want. And here's the uncomfortable part. Clark will keep creating moments. She's going to be at the center of more viral stories. The question is, who's going to show up when those moments happen? Because the LPGA proved they will. The WNBA, not so much. So what now? Will the WNBA learn from this? Will they finally embrace what Clark brings? Not just as a player, but as a cultural figure who can move markets? Or will they keep standing on the sidelines while other leagues take the lead? Let us know what you think. Is this a turning point for the WNBA or a warning sign? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you're watching this all unfold in real time, and hit subscribe if you want to stay ahead of every twist in the sports world. Because if Caitlin Clark keeps breaking records, you better believe the next viral moment isn't far behind. Let's be honest, this wasn't just a missed opportunity for the WNBA. It was a loud, public wake-up call. When the LPGA outmaneuvers you at your own game by marketing a basketball star better than the basketball league she actually plays in, you don't just lose momentum. You lose credibility. You lose trust with fans who are paying attention. And you lose the chance to set the tone for how the sport moves forward in the modern era. Caitlin Clark didn't stumble into the spotlight. She didn't get handed attention. She earned it with record-breaking college performances, a massive fan base, and a cultural impact that leagues should be tripping over themselves to leverage. And yet, when it came time to amplify her crossover moment on a global scale, it wasn't the WNBA that stepped up. it was the LPGA. They saw the moment, and they moved. They crafted the narrative before anyone else could. They put her next to Nelly Korda, a reigning Olympic gold medalist and current world number one. They didn't just highlight Clark. They elevated both women by using the pairing to build intrigue, storylines, and buzz across platforms. It was a masterclass in star marketing, and it worked instantly. Meanwhile, the WNBA couldn't even be bothered to hit retweet. This isn't a difference in strategy. It's a difference in mindset. The LPGA is clearly operating with a 2025 level understanding of how sports fans engage. The WNBA, on the other hand, is stuck in 2009, still clinging to the idea that league parity and equal attention to every player somehow outweigh the benefits of investing in breakout stars who could actually grow the game. And here's the hard truth. The WNBA isn't just missing Caitlin Clark's moments. They're actively ignoring them. This isn't the first time they've failed to capitalize. Clark's debut season in the WNBA has already shattered rookie viewership records. She sold out games in opposing cities. Every arena she steps into is packed. She trends every night she plays. And yet, the league's own promotion of her? Minimal, reluctant, occasionally even defensive. And now we know this isn't about lack of awareness. It's about unwillingness. Because if the LPGA can mobilize an entire event around Clark within days, craft a narrative, produce viral content, and expand their global reach with one strategic collaboration, then the WNBA could have done the same. But they didn't, and they keep not doing it. And fans? They're not blind. They see the contrast. They're comparing screenshots. They're pointing out the silence. They're questioning how a league that claims to want growth can so consistently underplay the one player who's driving that growth in real time. Social media told the whole story. Clark tees off, and within minutes, clips are everywhere. Fans are editing their own highlight reels. Trending hashtags take over timelines. Influencers from both the golf world and basketball spaces jump in. Meanwhile, the WNBA account posts nothing. The league's media partners say nothing, not even a basic acknowledgement. That silence speaks volumes. Because what it signals is not just neglect, it's rejection. A rejection of the very thing every sports league is desperate for. Mainstream buzz, cultural cachet, and the ability to cross into multiple arenas, literally and figuratively. And it begs the question, who's making these decisions? Because either the WNBA doesn't recognize what they have in Clark, or worse, they do recognize it and are choosing to downplay it. Either option is disastrous. Because in 2025, sports fans don't wait around. They move where the energy is, where the conversation is happening, where the stars are being celebrated. And right now, that's not inside the WNBA's official channels. It's on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, where fans are doing the work the league refuses to. They're editing clips, designing graphics, spreading the story, and keeping Clark's name alive in the algorithm. Not because they're getting paid, but because they care. Because they see her as a generational talent who deserves the spotlight. And that organic momentum, it's priceless. It's the kind of thing most leagues dream about. It's what turns rookies into legends and events into movements. And instead of supporting it, the WNBA is ghosting it, failing to even acknowledge the moment while the rest of the world is talking. Now, think about what the LPGA gained just by showing up. They didn't have to force anything. They didn't need to create hype out of thin air. All they did was embrace the moment. They leaned into what was already happening. And by doing that, they won over new fans, boosted engagement, and inserted themselves into a much bigger conversation. That's the blueprint. That's how modern sports leagues survive and grow. The LPGA didn't ask permission. They saw the value in Clark and ran with it. They understood that stars aren't distractions. They're opportunities. And when those stars cross into your world, even for a moment, you don't stay silent. You show up. Which brings us back to the WNBA. What message are they sending to Clark? What message are they sending to fans? To future stars watching from college? Because right now, the message is clear. Don't expect support unless you fit the existing mold. Don't expect amplification unless it's convenient. And definitely don't expect the league to ride with you if you're becoming bigger than the system. And that's a problem. Because the stars are already here. The audience is already engaged. The cultural relevance is already knocking. But if the WNBA keeps turning away from these moments, someone else will pick them up. Other leagues, other sports, other brands, just like the LPGA did. Caitlin Clark's golf appearance was more than a fun side story. It was a stress test, and the WNBA failed it. So the question now isn't just about Clark's next move. It's about the WNBA's. Will they finally wake up to the reality of modern sports culture? Will they evolve their marketing to meet fans where they already are? Will they invest in their stars and stop pretending every player needs the exact same spotlight to be fair? Or will they keep letting other leagues write the headlines? Because whether they want to admit it or not, Clark is the moment. She's the draw. She's a conversation. And the league that figures out how to support that, not control it, not suppress it, but support it, will win the future of women's sports. Caitlin Clark is doing everything right. She's showing up. She's performing. She's breaking records. She's filling arenas that haven't seen sellouts in years. She's not just playing basketball. She's reshaping the conversation around women's sports. And instead of championing that, the WNBA keeps sitting in silence. Let's call it what it is. Fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of change. Fear of a star becoming bigger than the league itself. But that fear, it's blinding. Because Clark is a threat to the WNBA. She's the lifeline. She's the opportunity of a generation. And if the league keeps treating her success like a distraction instead of the gateway it is, then they're not just hurting her. They're holding themselves back from the very growth they say they want. The LPGA saw it. They didn't hesitate. They didn't make it about power dynamics or tradition or fairness. They made it about vision. They recognized that letting Clark's light shine didn't dim anyone else's. It lit up the whole event. And look at the results. Coverage exploded. Social media lit up. New fans were introduced to Nelly Korda, to the LPGA, to women's golf in general, all because they leaned in. The contrast couldn't be more obvious. The LPGA played the long game. They saw how one moment could shift perception, grow the sport, and reach fans outside the usual golf crowd. Meanwhile, the WNBA clings to the idea that spotlighting one player might somehow be unfair to the rest. So they spotlight no one. And that's not equity. That's stagnation. Caitlin Clark doesn't diminish other players. She brings more eyes to them. She doesn't erase the league's legacy. She amplifies it. But the WNBA has to meet her halfway. They have to stop treating marketing like a threat and start treating it like a strategy. Because if they don't, fans will keep asking the same questions. Why is the LPGA faster to celebrate Clark than the WNBA is? Why is every viral moment being built around her outside of the league she plays in? And how long can that go on before the damage becomes permanent? This isn't just about social media presence or promotional graphics. It's about philosophy. It's about whether the WNBA is ready to accept that the old rules don't apply anymore. That growth doesn't always come evenly. That sometimes one star can carry an entire league into a new era, and that's not a bad thing. Clark's golf appearance pulled that curtain back. It exposed the gap between leagues that are ready to evolve and those still trying to hold on to a version of the game that no longer works in today's media landscape. And what's worse is the WNBA knows how powerful star marketing can be. They've done it before, just in more limited, controlled doses. They leaned into Diana Taurasi. They built around Sue Bird. They rallied around Candace Parker. But with Clark, it's different. She's not just a star within the league. She's a cross-sport icon. She's entering cultural territory that few athletes ever reach, male or female. And instead of riding that wave, the league looks uncomfortable, like they weren't prepared for this level of visibility. And that's the mistake, because this isn't something you prepare for. This is something you run toward. The LPGA ran, and now they're reaping the benefits. Bigger headlines, more engagement, and a fresh fan base that's now paying attention. The WNBA stood still, and it shows. And let's be clear, this isn't about comparing leagues for drama's sake. It's about outcomes. It's about which approach worked. The LPGA event succeeded because it adapted to the moment. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't overproduced. It was just smart, strategic, timely. And now, The WNBA has to reckon with that. Because if they let this pattern continue, if they keep letting other leagues, other sports, and even the fans themselves tell the story of Caitlin Clark, then what exactly is their role in this new era? Are they leading it, or just watching it happen? Fans can see the gap. They can feel the lack of momentum from the WNBA side, and they're tired of pretending it's okay. Caitlin Clark's golf debut shouldn't have been a moment the WNBA missed. It should have been a moment they owned. It was free publicity, viral energy, all eyes on their star. And they didn't say a word. No reposts, no shout-outs, no attempt to link the performance back to her basketball roots. Just silence. And in that silence, the LPGA soared. This isn't about sports politics. It's about basic marketing. It's about recognizing when a star is breaking out and doing everything to elevate that moment for the sake of the athlete and the league. And when you don't, someone else will. The next time Clark crosses over into endorsements, into media, into another sport, the WNBA will have another chance. But if they keep opting out, they won't just lose the moment. They'll lose the narrative. And maybe even the future stars who are watching this play out in real time. Because every young athlete is paying attention. Every college standout is watching how Clark is treated. Every fan is clocking which league knows what to do with a breakout moment, and which one doesn't. So now the pressure's on. Does the WNBA change course? Do they finally acknowledge that building around Clark isn't favoritism, it's survival? Or do they continue down this path of quiet resistance, while other leagues continue to take the wins they should have claimed for themselves? Let us know what you think. Is the WNBA losing the cultural battle, or are they just biding their time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you saw through the silence. And hit subscribe if you want to keep following the story the league won't tell. Because Caitlin Clark's not slowing down. And whether the WNBA's ready or not, the spotlight is already here.